All right, what's up? This is Joe the Dad, and I am going to do this recording to explain to you why your happiness in your inner life is exactly like this. So I want you to imagine this is going to be my garden. Okay, this is the ground in my garden. Let's make this a little bit more. All right, so that's your ground, okay? Now, out of your ground, you're going to have some plants that you want to have growing. So I love orange trees, so let's make a little orange tree. I'll make it a slightly different color brown just for fun. So here's my trunk, and here's my orange tree, and all right, you get the point. And then maybe there's some herbs that I want to have growing in there. So I've got these little herbs here with some leaves and whatnot. Beautiful drawing, I know. All right, but then what happens in every single garden all the time? Always, 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 you get weeds. That is an inevitable thing if you're going to garden, at least if you're going to garden in the real world, in nature. You're gonna have weeds. I will just start drawing them. And weeds, they come on their own, they're undesirable. They take things from the plants that you want to stay alive, and they often end up dying and looking much worse in your garden than you want them to look. So you need to come out there into your garden every day, and you need to pluck the weeds, or whatever it's called. You need to weed in your garden. So let's use that eraser. We're gonna come out in our garden and we're gonna work. Now, also what happens with weeds, they grow back. They grow back all the time, they grow back pretty quickly. It's an interesting eraser. That's actually why I'm doing it fuzzy, because they're coming back, so as soon as you do that, they're gonna start growing back, and you're going to have new weeds with relative frequency. So this is something you need to do all the time. And then let's say you come out to the garden and it's a new garden and you haven't planted anything yet. You're gonna see a field of basically nothing. So let's just make this into nothing. This is a fresh garden here, except for, of course, there are gonna be weeds growing. And let's say you wanna create something out of this garden. So the first step that you're gonna wanna do is you're gonna wanna pull the weeds so that you'll have room to plant the things, and then you're gonna wanna actually plant something. And when you plant something, let's say you plant that beautiful little orange tree. And by the way, not only do you wanna pull out the weeds, but you wanna prepare the soil a little bit. You wanna put in fertilizer and do things like that. And then you go ahead and you plant. And that little orange tree is gonna look something like this. With a couple of leaves sticking off of it here. That's gonna be your little orange tree, and it's gonna look very similar to maybe some herbs that you have growing. So here are some herbs, and they all have little leaves on them. Anyway, an interesting thing is the bigger the thing that you want to do, the longer it's going to take to actually produce fruit. So that's an interesting thing to keep in mind. And then the second thing is you're gonna plant this stuff, and whatever it is that you plant, and it's all going to be small, and you need to water it. You need to protect it from too much sun or from bugs or pests or things that would actually tear it down. And you need to remember that even after you plant, those pesky weeds are going to be popping up right there in the middle. I drew the weeds with a little bit lighter color. They're going to be popping up all the time, and so you've got to come and then strategically and carefully pull the weeds and kill the weeds without killing what you want to have grow. So how does this relate then? Let's add a new layer and let's turn off this layer. All right, so how does this relate to wait for it, our brains? Well, this relates to our brains in my mind, because in our brains, the weeds that grow, they might be things like thought patterns. I'll just put thoughts. They might be habits. They might be distractions. And thought patterns and habits are pretty much the same thing, but what's different in my mind and what I'm trying to get across is you have these, I guess you have habits that you've developed, and then you have thought patterns that you've picked up from I don't even know where. Nobody really knows where. It could be lots of different places in your mind. So you have all these things and you want to get rid of them. You want to weed, and you want to take those things away. I would say that in my life, one of the best things that I have done to remove these kinds of things has been meditation. And meditation very much helps you clear out your mind and helps you get to the point where you can focus on single things that are going on. But, okay, so now I have this empty garden here. I don't have anything growing that I want. And that is where you really need to look into creating, into actually implementing habits that you want to have. So, and I'm gonna call this habits because they're intentional things that you have decided that you want in your life, and you're gonna do them time and time again until they really take root and they start to grow. And just like in a garden, at first you're gonna have to nurture these so carefully, and you're gonna have to look at them every day and make sure that everything's okay. And then over time they're going to get really strong and they will become very hardy. And it depends on the habit. Some habits don't become very hardy. Some habits are similar to plants and that need constant care and nourishment, and some habits are more like the weeds that they just, once they take root, they stay. And so you can't expect that all your habits are just going to stay very easily, but in any case they will get easier as time goes on. And really I don't want to make this video too long, and that really does sum up what I'm talking about here, is that when you have, and let's just go back here to the garden for a second. So, hey, look at that. That was unintentional, but kind of cool. You got a brain growing out of the garden here. When you, in your life, when there are things that you want, first you need to clear away the weeds, and that is going to be a continual process that you're going to need to do. You're going to need to continue doing that even once you have planted what you want and you're taking care of those things. And then you really need to decide, and you need to plant what you want. And one other thing to mention is that, like I said, we all have thought patterns that have come from somewhere. We all have something growing in our garden that may or may not be weeds. Maybe we have some things that are good, that have been growing for a long time. But if we want to change them, we're going to have to go through the painful and time-consuming process of taking out the old things and maybe digging down and getting roots out and things like that, and then fixing up the soil and then planting something new. And that will take time, but it's a very gratifying thing. It's like your garden, where you can see results over time, and you just need to be a little bit patient. So that is it for this video. All right, talk to you later.